Hello, this is Patrick Barnard in Montreal. It is April 20th, 2026. This is the 36th edition of the International Press Review. It's a Monday. The world is waiting to see what will happen between Washington and Tehran. But in this press review, we're going to look at something that I at least find rather fascinating, and that is that the world right now is listening to two voices. One is the voice of Donald Trump, and the other is the voice of Pope Leo XIV, Robert Francis Prevost of Chicago, who is now the Pope. And of those two voices, the voice of Pope Leo is greatly regarded in the world, and the voice of Donald Trump is not. Pope Leo is the first American Pope. His more than 20 years of service in Peru marked him very deeply. He spoke out for human rights there. He was greatly loved and respected in the north of the country, where people called him Padre Roberto, Father Robert. Here's an Agence France-Presse photo of him on a mule, and that was taken because people remember him in this way. The tension between the voices of Pope Leo and Donald Trump was always there, especially since the beginning of the American attack on Iran, but it really came to a head on Easter Sunday, April 5th, 2026. That was when President Donald Trump put up a post on Truth Social, and it read as follows: "Tuesday will be Power Plant Day and Bridge Day, all wrapped in one in Iran. There will be nothing like it. Open the effing strait, you crazy bastards, or you'll be living in hell. Just watch. Praise be to Allah, President Donald J. Trump." That was the infamous F-bomb, and sent out by Donald Trump on Truth Social on all days of the year, Easter Sunday. It was part of Trump's general attempt to intimidate the Iranians, and he was telling them that he was going to really bomb infrastructure. That was followed on Tuesday, the 7th of April, by a most extraordinary post. It runs as follows: "A whole civilization will die tonight, never to be brought back again. I don't want that to happen, but it probably will." On the 7th of April, Pope Leo said that to threaten an entire civilization is unacceptable. Here's how his remarks sounded, as reported by the Vatican media portal, Vatican News.
I would simply say, once again, what I said in the Urbi et Orbi message on Sunday, asking all people of goodwill to search always for peace and not violence, to reject war, especially a war which many people have said is an unjust war, which is continuing to escalate, and which is not resolving anything. In fact, we have a worldwide economic crisis, energy crisis, situation in the Middle East of great instability, which is only provoking more hatred throughout the world. So come back to the table, let's talk, let's look for solutions in a peaceful way, and let's remember especially the innocent, children, the elderly, sick, so many people who have already become or will become victims of this continued warfare. To remind all that attacks on civilian infrastructure is against international law, but that it is also a sign of the hatred, the division, the destruction that the human being is capable of. And we all want to work for peace. People want peace. I would invite the citizens of all the countries involved to contact the authorities, political leaders, congressmen, to ask them, tell them to work for peace and to reject war always. Thank you.
On Saturday, April 11, 2026, Pope Leo made another very strong statement in Rome itself, in St. Peter's Basilica. This time he spoke Italian. Here's Vatican reporter for CNN, Christopher Lamb, reporting on that Saturday.
Pope Leo has just led a peace vigil in St. Peter's where he appealed for an end to the madness of war. Now, I attended outside in the square with hundreds of others who are watching on big screens. The Basilica was packed, and of course this comes as peace talks between the US and Iran are underway in Pakistan, and as Pope Leo becomes an increasingly outspoken voice against the war in Iran. Now, Leo tonight spoke from the heart. He appealed for an end to war and warned about the use of God to justify military conflict.
Viene trascinato nei discorsi di morte persino il nome santo di Dio, il Dio della vita. Basta con l'idolatria di se stessi e del denaro. Basta con l'esibizione della forza. Basta con la guerra.
And it comes after US Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth has used Christian language to justify the US military operation in Iran.
On Sunday, April 12, 2026, a series of very unusual things happened. First of all, Donald Trump put up a post, a stream of consciousness post full of confusing thoughts, reflecting obviously that Trump was upset by Pope Leo's criticism of the Israel-US war against Iran. And the post by Trump began, "Pope Leo is weak on crime and terrible for foreign policy. He talks about fear of the Trump administration, but doesn't mention the fear that the Catholic Church and all other Christian organizations had during COVID." And it went on and on. Then again on Sunday, April 12th, Donald Trump posted a picture of himself as a redeemer, most Christ-like. That post was very quickly taken down. On Monday, April 13th, Pope Leo was starting an 11-day apostolic journey to 4 countries in Africa, and it was on the plane that he spoke to reporters, telling them that he was not afraid of the Trump administration.
I have no fear of neither the Trump administration nor speaking out loudly about the message of the gospel. And that's what I believe I am called to do, what the church is called to do. We're not politicians. We're not looking to make foreign policy, as he calls it, with the same perspective that he might understand it. But I do believe that the message of the gospel, blessed are the peacemakers, is a message that the world needs to hear today.
It is now Monday, April 27, 2026, a full week after I began this press review. A number of things have happened. There's the violent interruption of the Washington Correspondents' Dinner over the weekend. The foreign minister of Iran has been to Oman, to Moscow, talked to many people in his region. There is also discussion, it is said, of a possible deal with the Iranians and the Americans giving up their respective blockades of the Persian Gulf and freeing the Straits of Hormuz. That doesn't seem very likely, but it is being talked about. At the same time, there has not been open violence between the Americans and the Iranians in the past days, and that's a very good thing. I believe that people in the future will remember this April of 2026 for the tension between Pope Leo himself and Donald Trump. And I think they especially will remember the very strange tweets and the image that Trump posted. So let's end this press review with a brief clip from MSN Now. Nicole Wallace is the moderator, and she remarks on the effect that the image of the Redeemer had upon Trump's political base. That may be one of the lasting effects of this April 2026.
Donald Trump's posting of an AI image of himself as Jesus Christ was indeed the straw that broke the camel's back for some Christian leaders. One conservative writer who attended J.D. Vance's Catholic baptism offered this blistering criticism in the Wall Street Journal, quote, "Not saying Trump is the Antichrist, but he's radiating the spirit of Antichrist, no question." And even a founder of Pete Hegseth's Protestant denomination called Trump's image, quote, "blasphemous." The outrage is also widespread among rank and file American voters. Watch.
What do you make of this?
Personally, it's disgusting. I talked with my wife about it earlier. I mean, Jesus Christ is my Lord and Savior, and that right there is, I mean, that's, I don't really have words for that. That's disgusting.
As a Christian, how do you feel when you see this image?
Offended. Yeah, I'm ashamed. I'm ashamed that he would actually do that. A man I voted for and trust.
And on that note, the idea of trust, this is Patrick Barnard in Montreal with the end of the 36th International Press Review.